So, what drove these three Mi'kmaq communities to come together and form a company to develop your own renewable energy projects?
The main motivation was frustration. That was the driving force originally. The three communities were tired of seeing wind development on their traditional territory being developed without any equity participation and minimal compensation for loss of land for those projects. So for us, it was very important to take back charge of our traditional territory, of what was going to be developed on our traditional territory. And wind was a sector that they could really connect to.
Give us a little bit of the rationale behind the design of this project.
It's not a developer that came to us and said, here's a project that's already been kind of shaped out, modeled, and everything's been set. We really had a vision to create a project, collected data on wind, and picked a site to say, here's a great spot, but let's build it together with our community members. And we want to have that 50-50 equity, not just finance-wise, but governance-wise as well too. It was originally for a site of 300 megawatts. That was the size of project that we wanted to put in place there. Why the 150? That was a negotiation between Hydro-Quebec and politically of what could be access from our three nations and what on the other side they could say, yes, we agree to a PPA with you guys for a cap limit of that. We did a lot of consultation with community members in regards to specific areas for hunting, traditional medicine picking, areas that we knew community members utilize for harvesting certain type of wood as well too. So we work with community members to say, okay, here's a turbine, here's the layout of the land. We're thinking of putting a turbine there. And then they would come back and say, no, that doesn't work because we traditionally pick medicine there. But you could put it here, and actually, if you build this access road, it would actually help us to access our territory of where we go actually pick traditional medicine. So there was this hand-in-hand work that was done with the MMS to help us identify specifically of where the turbines would go.
How did you get to own 50% of your first project?
The 50-50 was very important for the Mi'kmaq of when we negotiated our PPA, when we then picked our partner to partner really with us, they needed to accept that this was going to be a 50-50 partnership and not a 25, 75 or a 60-40 split. And Interjex was one that really understood what we were trying to achieve with this 50-50. And it was fruitful for them because putting in that time and accepting that, say, deal breaker line meant that, they could get past that, and then we partnered with them for MU2 as well too, right? And yes, it is time consuming at the beginning, but on the long run, it is so worth it for companies to invest the time at the beginning to build that relationship and that trust from the get-go.
So, how did you manage to access the capital that you needed to invest 50% of that project?
Not only that our balance sheet wasn't strong enough, Juan, but there's a lot of barriers for First Nations across the country in regards to the Indian Act that limit your capability of boring. At that time, back in 2013, there wasn't many financial options for large-scale infrastructure projects like this. Banks could do it, but at a really, really high rate. So our partner agreed to fund our portion of equity for this project at different shares. So they get a higher percent share at the get-go, and that balances out in the middle. And at the end of the project, actually, we get more. So there, which is fine for our end because we still wanted to keep that governance structure at 50-50. So financially, we were okay saying, you guys take more upfront at the beginning to pay off your upfront costs for the project. We'll still sit in governance wise at 50-50, and we will take the back end part of the agreement in regards to the financing aspect. So our second wind farm is different than our first one. This was a competitive bid through the province of Quebec. So it wasn't a PPA that we negotiated with Hydro. We actually, with our partner, signed an agreement to place a bid to be competitive with other projects. So for this, we took a position to say we don't want our partner to upfront our cash, and we want to limit as much cash as we can on our side to inject as our equity. So not only
Mhm.
did we help finance our portion, we actually bought a better return to the project for even our partner.
So, what was your experience owning 50% equity and having also 50% of decision-making power in this company?
So our board is comprised of 3 members of Mi'kmaq and 3 members from Intertex. And that's been the formula that we've applied throughout our projects, is that we not only want to be equity-wise partner, because we just don't want to be silent partners. We actually want to learn and build and grow our capacity for community members. So again, when we say we have 50% on the governance side, we do. But then there is a set aside of rules of where, because we partner with someone that has that expertise, there's certain areas that we delegate that authority to them or set limits on authority. So we will have a, say, operational budget for construction at the get-go. And if nothing is flagged during construction, then the board doesn't need to meet and everything's fine. We're not into the day-to-day when they're doing the building construction because they are the expert when it comes to that. We really rely on our partner. Um, that doesn't mean that in future projects we wouldn't do that.
What were the challenges that you faced to reach that initial agreement and how you overcame them?
No, it was very easy one, very simple and no, it was my predecessor at the time that really took the time and work to meet each of the council, raise their concerns, explain to them the vehicle of what they were trying to create here. And I think at the end it was really the nation building aspect. Because again, you got to think in 2009 they came up with this, oh yeah, we're going to build this 150 megawatt wind project and we're going to get 50%. Everyone was like, no, this is not going to happen. We don't have the cash. We don't have the capacity. This is not going to work. And not only did we do it, we're in phase 2 and we just signed a structural agreement for 6,000 megawatts on our traditional territory. So I think now that initial work internally of what we did to convince our political communities to get on board really became fruitful because we see it now that they truly understand and they see the vision now of this nation building exercise for them.